Hello.
Hello, Luisa. How are you?
Good, and you?
Thank you. So let's get started. How about the projects? Have you started your final project and also group case study or not? I don't have any report from you. Hello, Phoebe. How are you?
Hello, Professor. How are you doing?
Thank you. Have you started your group case study, Phoebe, Luisa, and
Oh, I
Hannah?
thought it was like, I didn't think it was a group study because I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it is
So
group
I
case.
just submitted it.
Wait a minute. Have you submitted as the private, personal,
Yeah,
individual?
I did
Okay,
because
okay, no problem. No problem.
usually it says like group case study.
Yeah, no problem. Other student will do that. Because you are only 3 person, it's no problem. For example, 10 students or 12 students, we create 3 or 4 groups at first for learning how to work together. And secondly, for having for example, 3 or 4 assignments. But because you are only 3 students, no problem. You can do it individually. And have you register your final project justification or not? The title justification.
Yes, we did. I think we were supposed to submit it at, last week. It's a deadline.
Yes, I will check them tonight. I have sent a request for the university to cancel the next session, also the online next session. I will upload the online video to see for the week 6. If they accept it, no problem. I will upload and you can go to the video and learn the material for the week 6. If university doesn't accept, again, no problem. We will have a regular online. I will text you the results. That usually university, if it is only for 1 week, usually university accept it. It's only for 1 week. But how do you think? Is there any problem with you or not? Luisa, do you have any problem to upload the next week video or not? It's your
I
right.
don't think so, but I can.
Okay. Well, it's all right. You can be opposition and say no, we want to the online class and I will come. Because I am next week, just next week, yes. I mean کجا داری می‌رین؟ in the your city. Which city you are, Luisa?
Pasadena, close to Maryland.
Yeah, yeah.
Annapolis.
It is Germantown in Maryland.
That's
Because
where you're
of,
going to. Right?
yeah, because of that, maybe it's too late. Okay, I will send you, text you the result. So I started. We did today's discussion. Also, it is 2 chapters, only in 1 chapter, in 1 PowerPoint, because they are so related together about the natural law. I love this word. So before starting the major concepts, I have a question. What is a natural law? Also, we know in Oriental countries, in Oriental culture, like China, Japan, Korea, especially in China and Korea, we have many ancient texts and many ancient concepts. And also in Indian American, Native American, in North Dakota and other parts, and in Maya culture, Maya civilization, Maya in Mexico. We have many texts about natural laws. What is natural law? By Indian American, by Mexican people, Mexican culture, also Oriental. Also, in my country, there is no serious matters about natural law, but there are many matters about to be natural, but not about natural law. Chinese, Egypt, Korea, Native Americans, Mexican people, they have many importance on the concept of natural law. Luisa, how do you think about the natural law? What is natural law? What is law at first? What is law? A definition. I know the concept of law.
Something
is
that always applies
Uh-huh.
under any circumstances.
Uh-huh. No change. At any circumstances, no change. When something is law, you cannot
So
find
yeah, you have
anything.
a law and then you have conditions that have to be met. But if the conditions are met, it will always apply.
Uh-huh. Yeah, perfect. Phoebe, how do you think about the meaning of law? Especially in the natural aspect, not in the social aspect.
I think the same thing with Louisa. That everything and everything has not changed.
What about natural law? When, let me say you and prepare you with an example. In science, honestly, there is nothing so-called scientific law. Why? One of the major basic principles of science is falsifiability. Falsifiability is mean when you have some approved scientific facts, there should be always a way to reject and questioning about those approved scientific facts. If we cannot dispute, if we cannot question about one or some other scientific facts, they are facts, but they are not scientific. Science is falsifiable. Because of that, science is progressive. Because of that, many facts lead to gaining Nobel Prize. Many facts lead to gaining Nobel Prize after only 2 decades they have changed and rejected. Also, the Nobel Prize hadn't been rejected because in the time of Nobel Prize, it was the final search and most significant science fact about those matters. For example, about mathematics, about economy, about medicine, but only after 2 decades, new data, new research methods, new research facts have changed and many times have rejected the previous facts about those topic of science. So it is very important. When we are talking about scientific facts, we are talking about falsifiability. Every research book you open and start to read, at the first page, at the first pages, you see these words: falsifiability, science, mysticism, philosophy, intuition, rationality, observation, measurements. These are the basic words in the first pages of all research method books as the introduction to what is research, what is research method, what is philosophy, what is mysticism, and what is science, and why we should work based on science, not because of the science is the final fact or the final answer, because science is the most evidence-based methodology to um, assessment, to assess, to gathering information and gaining some result and discussion and conclusion about our questions in mind. Also, if you want at the end of your any dissertation, Luisa, is there any dissertation or is there any thesis at the end of our MBA or not? Do you have any final project?
You mean the capstone?
Is there any dissertation at the end of MBA?
I think it's a similar, not as comprehensive,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
called capstone.
Yeah, it's seminar. But for example, for the PhD thesis, started with your question in mind. What are the new approaches to digital marketing after COVID-19, post-COVID era? For example, differences between North African countries, Oriental countries, Middle Eastern countries, and North American or South American. It can be a good question, very popular question in the mind of a PhD student of business or marketing or IT management or other parts related to, for example, money making or behavioral, economic behavior of people. It's a question. Based on the question, you will have some hypotheses. You have some pre-assumed answers. Yes, I think that this answer is good answer for that question. After that, you will write and you will prepare your research plan and that and that and that. And finally, you will have some discussion and conclusion. It is the nature of science. Because of that, when we are talking about law, as Lisa said, and as Fizi approved again, we should have some fixed methods, fixed manners, fixed procedures that in different situations, with different people, with different conditions, different circumstances, we can have the same result or nearly very close the same result, very close result. Very, very, very little differences. It is called tolerance rate. Tolerance rate or tolerance degree is a rate or degree that we can have tolerate for differences between the answers or between the results. So in this session, weeks 5, we will talk about 2 very near natural law that we can use in conflict resolution. So let's go to the concept. What's the meaning of reciprocity? I know the meaning of the word. What is the meaning? What is the concept of reciprocity or reciprocal? Phoebe, what's the meaning of reciprocity? How do you think about the meaning of reciprocity? You are muted. Welcome, Payo.
Thank you.
Phoebe, you are muted. How do you think about the meaning of concept of reciprocity? Do you know anything about it or not? Do you have any idea?
So reciprocity is like, in my understanding, is like karma.
Other things?
So like something you receive and something you give it back, or you get it. You treat people in a certain way and you get back like kind of the same way that people will treat you.
Is there anybody here to read the books of Adam Grant? Do you know Adam Grant? Payo, Phoebe, Luisa? Let me check. Also, it is not about reciprocity, but it's important for me to my students know about the latest approaches to success, scientific success, and Adam Grant, and also final thinkers about it. It is Adam Grant I will share with you. Adam Grant book. It's a book by Adam Grant, Give and Take. A revolutionary approach to success. Very, very good. Adam Grant has 4 books. It is, I think, this first or second one, very famous, because we were talking about reciprocity. And the major book, very, very, not revolutionary book, but evolutionary book is this one. I love it, Originals. How non-conformists move the world, not conformists, non-conformists. How? Highly recommended. It is the last book, Think Again, 2021. But highly recommended to study the book Originals and Give and Take. That's I think, I'm not certain about it, I'm not sure about it. I think that I have uploaded the cover of these books in the Moodle for you, also for my bachelor degree students, because it's very important for me to bachelor degree students know about the last books, not last data. Data is for you, for master degree and PhD. Bachelor degree doesn't work with data, with the articles. It's not important. They don't know any knowledge. They don't have any enough knowledge to work with the data and the academic articles. But the books, why not? Younger, fresher, and also with a less literacy in contrast with the MBA and the BAC. Your fund of knowledge is more powerful than bachelor degree students. So highly recommended to read this book, Originals. It's about 2 or 3 years ago, 2007 or 2016. And give and take the first book. Because we were talking about reciprocity, I remember the name of this book. Also, it is not a philosophy. It's not a something like, for example, charity book or a divinity book. So reciprocity, about giving and taking. First weapon of influence is reciprocity. Can you find reciprocity in basic human interactions? Why are you so silent today? Are you tired? Usually you are sleepy. Are you tired?
No. I just have a little bit of headache.
The law of reciprocity with the loss aversion bias, the second law that we will talk about, both of them in this session, are slightly different than the other 7 out of 9 models, in that these two are drawn from patterns of behavior that have been identified and repeatedly studied by psychologists, sociologists, and behaviorists for a long time. These patterns, 1, these patterns are strong and influential. 2, these patterns help determine a great many of our choices in many settings. And 3, these patterns remain largely unconscious, especially in conflict situations. It's very important. Repeatedly, one model after one model, we said to you that to be conscious, to be present, to be mindful in a course of conflict management is the basic component. And now we are talking about 2 unconscious influencing models. The effects are unconscious, not the patterns. You will know this session, you will study your book, and you know that, yes, these are unconscious models. You will be conscious about the unconscious models, but it doesn't mean that when you are conscious about the unconscious model, you will be conscious about the unconscious impacts of models. No, you are always in unconscious. But you know that there is something hidden in your conflict. There is something hidden at the back, at the deepest parts of your conflict, but you cannot find it. By reading and by studying and by understanding and by comprehending these 2 models, you will find that, yes, there's something wrong, but not so apparent, not explicit, which is implicit. By way of background, these models operate as if they were natural law. In the hard sciences, like physics, biology, chemistry, natural laws and inviolable principles, such as the law of gravity or the 3 laws of motion, scientifically provable laws of nature. The social sciences have analogous natural law. Here, these principles operate as powerful, often unconscious tendencies that guide and shape much of our action and decisions in a predictable way. Say me, each of you, say me one example from yourself, from your daily history, maybe daily, from your, life history. It can be your daily life, present life history, or no, from the previous decades or previous time, from your adolescence or early adulthood. What behavior for Phoebe, for Pio, for Luisa is so unconscious after doing that, especially negative behavior, especially after that doing that behavior? You say, wow, what a wrong thing I have done. It was in my unconscious level. I hope I didn't, I have never done it, but I have done it. Pio.
So in terms of reciprocity, it will be basically like, let's say, a give and take. Is the same way someone react to me, that way I'm gonna give it back naturally, maybe, if I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
The way I'm gonna react. So I do remember being in my very young. I went to meet my grandmother, and I was disrespectful with her. So so I have very rarely lived with them because they're back in India and I was always in Panama. But sometimes we used to go. But you know, old people, they have a certain way of, they have a certain thinking, and you know, they're very specific about certain things. So I got in an argument and I was replying back like, you know, there should be a respect level. Like, she's elder to me. They have their way of thinking because the way they are. So, you know, so I remember that, and I do feel bad now because it's not appropriate to do that. It's very disrespectful. So I remember that.
Especially in the cultures like India, like China, South, Far Asian, Oriental, or you are not, India is not a part of Middle East, but India is a part of Southern Asian countries. India, Pakistan. My country is part of beginning of Middle East is with my country, Iran, and also until Egypt and Turkey and Israel and the Persian Gulf countries. In all of these countries, there is a hierarchy of respect between the family members. It is like not something like, for example, white American. Also, those respects is in the African people and in Native American. But in white American and European people, there's something else. It is a hierarchy of respect, but in different figures. Not, for example, because I am grandmother. And maybe, as you said, in the beginning of adolescence, you can find many, not cross-cultural conflict. It is not cross-cultural. Cross-cultural is from two countries. You have born here in America. You don't have any cross-cultural. You are Indian American, but you're American. But for your grandma, for example, until the end of the life, she is Indian. And then go to another country at the highest adaptability rate, we have some cross-cultural conflict. For all the first generation of immigrant, it occurs to the next generation and third generation, nothing is something like cross-cultural. There's a very famous astronomer in NASA, so-called Dr. Firuz Nadiri. Firuz Nadiri is so famous that one planet has been named by his name. There is a planet in the galaxy, so-called Nadiri planet. He is so famous. He was the founder of, it was called, I forgot the name of the project. Before this late project for Mars, there was the first project. He was the founder and the general manager of that project for NASA. In one interview, also he was born in Iran, and after adolescence coming to America, well, he is very famous and cannot talk in native Iranian language so fluently. In one interview, the interviewer asked that, doctor, do you consider yourself as Iranian? He said, yes, I'm Iranian. And asked him, do you want to return to your country? He said, no, I don't want. And asked again, why? He said, very interesting and rational, intellectual answer. He said that I'm Iranian. I was born in Iran. Why not? But my job, my interest as an astronomer doesn't have any location in my country. Because of that, The next generation says, I am basically Iranian, I am basically Indian, I am basically Korean. And the third generation doesn't talk anything about it. He or she versus I'm American. Because of that, we can find these reciprocal reactions between the first generation and next generation. Why at the first of the session, at the first meeting of the session, we are talking about this reciprocity and reciprocal effects? Because especially in California, especially in America, as an immigrant country, high rate of immigrant, you can find only in one country, in one organization, a vast diversity of cultures. If you don't have any tolerance, as Nordstrom says, zero tolerance policy, also it is not for the culture, it is for the customers, zero tolerance policy. If you have a zero tolerance policy for different cultures, you cannot manage anybody. Phoebe, do you have any personal memory of reciprocity?
I am not sure this situation is called reciprocity, but like when I first come to the US, I think because of the culture is different. So when
how old were you when you came to America?
So when I came here, I was 23. And then I was talking with my friend, like one of my new friend here. And then she was talking about the divorce and stuff. And for my culture, like Vietnamese culture, it's not a good thing to say. And then, but here it's like normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have commented some sentences that I think I shouldn't say it. And then she's kind of get mad at me. So that's the thing that I learned here. But I'm not sure if it's reflect in this situation though, just because of the different culture.
Is there any, how many years you are now here?
5 years now?
How many years?
5 years.
5 years. After 5 years, is there any basic radical change in your mind or not?
Yeah, there's a lot of things has been changed in my mind. Like
And
the way
you have accepted so many things easily in contrast with the first day you enter, for example, in other completely other culture, not other country. American thinking is a culture. For each service, a specific culture, different for all the cultures. Also a culture without any history. The problem in America is that there is a good culture, but no history. When you don't have history, but you have culture, the culture is a little shallow, as also a little easy to live with. It is the basic and best part of American life. Yes, it is not so deep, but easy to live with. You don't have any major problem to adopt with this culture. And the final question from Luisa, is there any personal experience about reciprocity or something like this?
One example is if I go to the supermarket or grocery store and they offer me free things and hope I will purchase the product. I think this could be an example.
Yeah, very, very simple and basic example. Thank you. In simple terms, the greatest contributor to the success of humanity on the planet Earth is that we, as a species, learned how to cooperate effectively. Humans are not the fastest, not the strongest, not even the most populous species on the Earth. Yet humanity has become the most powerful organism on the planet. Why? Why we are the most powerful organism on the planet? Without looking at internet, I need your personal analysis. It's not a mortal science. I need your personal analysis. Do you accept that we are the most powerful organism on the planet? Do you think or not? Your book says yes, we are the strongest most strong organism, most powerful organism on the planet. How do you think?
I think so too, because we have a good brain that can do a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
We used it, like we use it to suppress and take be in charge of other creatures and the
Mhm.
world. So we have the tools to make it possible.
Do you think we are destroying the environment, the planet?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think we are destroying our generation, our race, if you consider humanity as a race, not as a species? If we are, do you think we are destroying also? Seriously?
Destroying
And we
what
are looking
generations?
for other planet to immigrate to other planets. You see, people come from developing countries to developed countries. I think after only 20 years, people come from developing countries to developed countries and from developed countries to other planets. Richest people, for example, in America will go to moon. Richest people in Asia will come to Asia, to America, and other people will leave. Do you think it is something real or not? It is only a hypothesis and very dark
I
hypothesis.
can see it happening.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that there is a project going on in Mars and people has already written down their names and to see if there is a life there, they can survive there and also in 20 years, yes, hopefully.
You know, for example, space traveling, the major countries in the last century were America and Russia. But the pioneers, only the pioneers. The first steps, because of the highly needed money and highly needed ambition, America and Russia are the most ambitious countries on the earth. Other are followers, but the followers, especially Oriental countries, in many cases, have won the competition. For example, China, even India, and Middle East new countries like Saudi Arabia, like my country, Iran. They are going forward and forward. For example, for nuclear energy. Now, in going to March, the pioneer is America. After that, we are expecting some countries like Russia. But after that, for example, after 20 years, even 20 years, we can find a competition not for assessment about the probability of life in other planets. Competition in tickets, in facilities, in cheaper tours. Only my prediction is near 20 countries, 20 years. But you are the professionals of business, and I don't know what are your predictions. Humans are not the fastest. We did this by learning how to work together to accomplish things far beyond the capability of any single person. There is a good book. I don't know, have you read this book or not? Let me show this book. It is very, very famous book. It is by Dr. Harari, Homo sapiens book. Very famous book, very revolutionary book. Many videos, many good videos. Let me show it to you. Have you studied this book? You all know Harari is a Jewish scientist, I think from the Jerusalem. Also now he is in America. He's in California. Before COVID, he has serial lectures in UCLA. Then after that, it was some contract with the UCSD San Diego, but because of COVID, everything was canceled. A Brief History of Humankind. It's a very famous book. Very, very famous book. Why we are here. You should know about this concept. You should know about this concept. You should know, for example, let me show you another book that we can talk to Dr. Guyabadi to talk to its author, because he has a friendship with Dr. Guyabadi. Here. Transhumanism. Can you see it or not? Transhumanism. Who is the next generation? Not after 1,000 years, after 1 century. It is about the concept of post-human, transhumanism. You know, we are going to the age of digitals, or near, it is called Homo sapiens and Homo, I can find it. With digitals. It's a concept of, can you see it? We are Homo sapiens from 0 to hero. We are again naked, like the monkeys, but now we are here. Naked Homo in front of computer. And our next generation, our transhumanism, our post-human being is about Homo digitus. We are the first generation of human in the history of humankind with a digital thinking and digital living. It is the evolutionary part of our human life. Because of that, as the greatest and the next generation of leaders, you should know about this concept. You should know very precisely about this concept, not about the totality, very precise. These are the next projects, next moneymaker project, next markets, next for 10 years, not for 50 years, for 10 years. And the only way of this could have been accomplished was through cooperation. Okay. Law of reciprocity, quite simply, forms the cornerstone of this cooperation in human relationship and society. We are not the only cooperative being on the earth. Other higher mammals, when we're talking higher mammals, we are talking about the mammals with the higher cortical functions. Cortex is the last part of your brain before your skull. It's your cortex. And the cortex is the major part of humanity, especially this part of your cortex, which is called frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex, the site of thinking. This is the major part for cooperation with other people. We are not the only being on the world to intentionally cooperate together. Other higher mammals have, but we have the best types of cooperation based on our knowledge. We as human beings think that we are the best being on the earth to have the higher procedures of cooperation. It's the engine that derives cooperation. It is the underlying process, the instinctual behavior that consistently and unconsciously pushes us towards collaboration and working together for mutual benefit. How do you think? Do you really think that law of reciprocity is instinctual or unconscious? Let me ask you a basic question. How do you find one simple and one single behavior is instinctual? What are the signs of instincts? Phoebe, Payal, Louisa, what are the signs of an instinctual behavior. How do you know, yes, this behavior is instinctual, unconscious, that behavior is not instinctual, this behavior is relatively instinctual? What are the behavioral, observable, objective signs?
That one would be that you don't have to think about it.
Uh-huh.
Like
So it is
breathing.
called unconscious. It is the same concept of to be unconscious or not, something different?
Mm,
Do you mean to be unconscious?
I think it has some overlap, but
Mhm.
it's still different.
What's the difference between that concept and this concept?
Instinctual is what you do, and like you don't think about it, and unconscious is when you don't think about it, but it doesn't mean that it is instinctual. You could be just doing it so often that you just that it's like in you, but it doesn't mean it's like an instinct. It doesn't come natural to you.
Let me take an example and have a question from you. Heart beating or digestion movements or breathing, unintentional breathing, natural breathing. These are unconscious. Do you consider, for example, beating your heart unconscious, your digestive movement? Do you consider them as unconscious processes, unconscious activities or not? You don't have any control on your heart beating. You don't have any control on your digestive motions. Intentionally, you have some control on your breathing, but intentionally, regularly, you don't have any control. You think about your breathing. As physiologist says, take a deep breath, and monks and yogi people says, make a deep breath. It is different. When you say take a deep breath, breath is outside of you and you take a deep breath. In yoga, they said, no, breath is inside you. It is something internal and you should make a deep breath. It's something philosophical mind also in routine life. It is different. Take a deep breath or make a deep breath. But okay, we don't want to discuss this concept because it is not related to our discussion. My major question is that, do you consider your digestive motion unconscious? Phoebe, are you with us or not?
Because I connect my laptop with the bigger screen. So even if you see me, don't look at the laptop like this, but I'm looking at the screen behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good screen. How do you think about my question?
Your question about the instinctive behavior and the unconsciousness,
I
right?
asked that, can you consider, for example, your digestive motions?
Digestive motion.
Digestive motions in your stomach, in your other parts of your abdomen for digestion process, or not your heart beating, your heart activity. You don't have any control on your heart activity. Is it unconscious or not? What is the difference between unintentional and unconscious?
So
What is the difference
unconscious.
between unconscious and unintentional? The major question is that.
Unconscious, like we don't have any control on the things. So for heart beating and digestion,
Don't
we
have any
don't have
control
that.
over your heart beating.
Yeah, we can't control that.
Also in deep concentration, in deep meditation, you should have, yes. But in regular people, in regular times, we don't have any heartbeat, control over our heartbeat. Is it unconscious or unintentional? Anybody else? Silent Teresa, Sleepy Pile, smart, but not here, Phoebe. Many things can be intentional and unconscious. For example, breathing, regularly you don't think about your breathing and you are doing breathing for whole your life. But in sometimes, for example, in regular daily exercise or in meditation or in some, for example, swimming practices, you should know, you should learn how to how to control over your breathing intentionally. Unconscious is something else. You cannot any pay attention. You cannot perceive. It is about your perception. You don't have any conscious perception about your, for example, digestion movement or about your muscular tension. Regularly, you sit on your seat and don't think about the tension in your muscles. Any attention. You cannot have attention because you cannot have any perception. So law of reciprocity works on the unconscious level. If you know how to work with law of reciprocity, you can work with unconscious part of people. Also, the things that I want to talk about it just now is not my belief. I don't believe that there is something so-called dark psychology. But if you go to internet and search for the phrase of dark psychology, you can find many things about dark psychology. Also, we have, I think, 7 books about dark, with the title, straight title of dark psychology. It is about body language. It's about manipulation. It is about the course that you are passing just now. It is about the conflict management. They think that if you know how to manage the conflicts, you can manipulate other people. Why manipulation? We can control only the content and the process of our conflict. Why some people, some authors, some may be some of the psychologists think that yes, it can be some parts of manipulation because they know that you can work after practicing and being and getting experience on your procedures, on your education, on your skills. After that, you can work with the unconscious part of people. Yes, if you can work with the unconscious part of people, you have the ability to manipulate them, but it is not necessary. It is something like have a knife, very, very sharp knife. You can use it for a very miniaturistic surgery. Why not? And you can use it for killing other people. It's only a tools. Because of that, I don't think that there is something real as dark psychology. You must give back or repay to others what it is they have given or paid to you. Okay. The good news is this: the law is inherently biased in favor of cooperation, not manipulation. It's a good news. Yes, naturally we have the ability to reciprocity together. Yes. But because of those, that naturally, that nature, also it is go for cooperation. We are a social being, not isolated being. Naturally, we are social. What are the major 4 dimensions of human being? We are bio, psycho, socio, spiritual. These are the 4 major dimensions of every human being. I am a body, my biological. I am a self, I am a soul, I am a spirit, I'm an ego, I am a mind, I'm an emotion. It is psychological approach. I am in love, I'm isolated, I'm a teacher, I'm an employee, I'm a partner, I'm a father, I'm a spouse, and other things. We are social people. And I am the only being, I as a human, am the only being on the earth to look for the meaning of life. The sheep, the wolves, the lions, the cats, the dogs don't look for the meaning of life. There is no such thing as meaning of life for a cat. The meaning of life for a cat is his or her owner, his or her gaming. The meaning of life. Also, it is not called meaning of life. Meaning of life includes something beyond your everyday life experience. It is a spirituality. It is meaning of life. Because of that, we have the fourth dimension, so-called spirituality, sometimes morality, sometimes culture. I love to use spirituality. Also, it is not my term. It is, we can find it in the internet. Four dimensions of human being. Before 9/11, it was three dimensions: biopsycho-spiritual, biopsychosocial. After 9/11 and having a good research on the fundamentals of terrorism, fundamental of religion, fundamental of Islam, fundamental of America and other parts, after that, we know that we have four dimensions. The fourth dimension is spirituality. The main directive of the law is that we must give back or repay to others what it is they have given to us. Unfortunately, this directive can either derive cooperation or it can derive retaliation and conflict. This is your job. For cooperation, thanks. No need to resolution. There is nothing to resolve. But for conflict, yes. But the law bends us toward cooperation by relying on two guiding principles. Please remember these two guiding principles. One, we feel compelled to help others, triggering the first step in cooperation. Your first step. Two, we often feel compelled to accept help, reinforcing cooperation. These are the two basic principles of law of reciprocity. You can see here two different outcomes in every interaction. Person one, person B in different parts, give anger, disrespect, denies help, and etc. Repays with more anger, disrespect, willful denial of help, and etc. And in positive part, you can see here, gives help, advice, respect, and etc. And in reciprocal reaction, we have help, advice, respect, or etc. Do you know anything about the mirror back effect? What does it mean, mirror back effect? Do you know anything about the shadow? Have you heard about the shadow? Okay, I don't want to talk it. If you want to know about the shadow, one of the deepest concepts in psychology, one of the deepest concepts of psychology, we have two parts, personality and shadow. Personality is your mask, you know. The Latin word of persona is mask. The mask you cover on your face is your persona. When you say personality, that fixed characteristic that you and other people can observe you in different position with the same mask. It is personality. Shadow is the hidden part of you that you cannot see, and also other people cannot see it. Positive or constructive reciprocation. And again here, this outcome lead directly. Advice, respect, and repays with help, advice, and respect. Negative or destructive reciprocation lead to conflict, problems. Both parties spend time, energy, and money. Time, energy, and money was the lowest and first cost you should pay. Time, energy, and money. We have talked about it in previous sessions. Two guideline principles. We are driven to helping others, and we often feel obliged to accept help when offered. These are the basic concepts of reciprocity. Give and take, give and take. Do you think, a basic question, do you consider yourself as optimistic or pessimistic? Payal, do you consider yourself as optimistic or pessimistic?
Optimistic.
Optimistic?
I mean, I
Lisa?
guess everyone should consider that that's the example of half glass full or half glass empty.
You concentrate on half glass full?
Yeah, I try to in every situation.
Try to move. Perfect. And Luisa, how do you consider yourself? Optimistic or pessimistic?
I would say optimistic most of the time.
Most of the time. And Phoebe, do you consider yourself optimistic or pessimistic?
Depends on the situation. Then I can be
Most
both.
of the time. Your conceptual framework, your emotional glass, how do you think the color of the world in most of the time? It is dark, manipulative, and harmful or not? It's a happy, good time. Sometimes it is dark and harmful. Also, there is no value-based difference. There is no value-based. If you are pessimistic, not too bad. Why not? You can have a good criticism about everything. It is destructive, yes. But many things are not destructive only from one thing. There is no destructive force. Maybe it's the most of the time you consider your total personality as optimistic or pessimistic.
Optimistic.
After ending the session, ask yourself, why, based on which evidences do you think that you are, for example, optimistic? Evidences. What evidences in the last week shows that, for example, Luisa is an optimistic lady? Evidences, observable evidences. If I look at the life of Luisa in the last week, what evidences shows that, yes, Luisa is optimistic? It's very important. Don't forget, we are the only self-deceptive being on the earth, the most and the only self-deceptive. Other animals, other mammals deceive others, each other, not themselves. We are the only being that, in addition to deceiving others, we will deceive ourselves. We are self-deceptive. If we cannot find any observable, any objective sign and evidence for confirming that, yes, I am optimistic or I am pessimistic. It is not about the value, it is about the confirmation. So ask yourself that, why in front of 2 other students and my professor, I said that, yes, I am pessimistic. Proudly I am pessimistic. Proudly I am optimistic. It helps you to find some types of self-deception in yourself. We drive into helping others, and we often feel obliged to accept help when, okay, on diagnosis, the first. Are you witnessing the upward spiral that promotes collaboration, or are you witnessing the downward spiral of self-reinforcing retaliation? We will talk about this just now. The downward spiral. There can be many causes of friction and conflict in any relationship or interaction. And the other models in the toolbox can help you to identify other possible causes of it. In addition to other substantive reasons for conflict, however, a conflict can be both driven and sustained by the law of reciprocity. Even when both parties want a resolution, the conflict can continue unabated simply because each party feels compelled to reciprocate the most recent negative action the other party has taken. Everybody thinks that he or she is right, always. It's a problem. Everybody wants to be perfect, always. It's a problem. Nobody is perfect. When you accept that I am not a perfect, a complete man or woman, but I am completely a man or woman. To be a man or woman is more important than to be human, is more than important than to be complete. Complete is condition. Rarely it occurs. We don't have any approved, without a story, without drama. We can talk about, for example, some leaders with a lot of stories, history stories, but not approved stories. Don't forget, anybody on the earth, here, before us, and after us, anybody on the earth is a human being. If he or she is something very, very different, the most and the best, the most probable and the best scenario is we have made many unrealistic stories about them. Why we talk about it, this problem in conflict resolution session, because in many conflicts you find many unapproved stories about the situation. And for example, I asked Luisa, why do you think about this in this approach? She said, my grandma or my culture or my country. How don't you know, Dr. Taghavi, that it is true for everybody? There is no evidence. Only because of culture, only because of religion, only because of something attributed to nature. It is not natural based, attributed to nature. We think that, yes, this is always true. This is downward spiral you see in the picture. There can be many causes of friction. Negative reciprocity. Is there a pattern of negative behavior between the parties? For how long? We are talking about the questions. What specifically is causing the negative behavior? What is the previous actions of the other party? Or were the independent causes or both? Is there an escalation in magnitude as each party responds to other questions? It is the upward, it is wrong. It is not downward. It is upward spiral. Of course, when, for example, we meet someone for the first time and one of us takes an interest, listens or offers help or support, it builds a positive depth in the other person and the upward spiral starts. That what does it mean to have extra helps to me? Thank you, but it creates some debts on other people. Other times, however, parties are already in a downward spiral because of a negative interaction, and these negative reactions reinforce each other. To reserve this and change it into an upward, so someone has to break the negative pattern in the downward spiral first. You can find it in many love conflicts, especially when one of the partners have a great guilt feeling. He or she want to overreact, over positive reacts to very, very small actions of his or her partner. It is upward spiral. It is again a spiral. The same point at the different levels. It is the meaning of a spiral. The same point at the different level. This point, next level, next level, next level, next level. These are the points of conflict. You cannot find the points and you cannot resolve the conflict. But it is going up and up and up. Because of that, it is called upward spiral. Because of same point in the different levels, it is called a spiral. Because of upgoing, this is called upward. Break the cycle at first. It is game changer. If you cannot change your game, you cannot resolve your conflicts with anybody in any situation, in organization, in interpersonal, even in intrapersonal relationship with yourself, with the universe, with God. If you cannot break the game, if you cannot create the unexpected change, you're at the same page with the same wrong way and with the same wrong game. There's no change. It is game changer. At first, you should have, you should do, you should think, you should feel something completely different. Game changer. Break the cycle. Except of that, you are at the same page, same cycle. You are wasting your time, energy, and money. Leverage on one concept with another. It is a natural law also that every positive action, it has synergic, not energetic, synergic effect on the other positive actions. If I cry myself, okay, I have a voice of crying. If I cry for myself, Luisa cry for herself. Two separate crying. And when we go together and crying with each other, the power of that joint crying is more than a little more than summation of each of us. It is called synergic effect. That's that very, very little extra power is because of synergy. You consider, for example, do you know anything about crowdfunding as the business student, marketing student? Do you know anything about crowdfunding? Who didn't have any presentation? Payal is for this session, and Luisa has done it. Phoebe, next week, with a high probability, next week, we will not have any session. For the week 7, Phoebe, please have a good, very good presentation about this concept, crowdfunding. What is crowdfunding? Because one of the greatest problems in crowdfunding is to resolve the conflict with the crowd. We are not talking about the corporation. We are not talking about an institute. We are talking even not about the society or community. We are talking about the crowd, something very, very higher, very, very more important than a society. Okay. Have a 15 minutes break until 7. And after that, at first, we will have the presentation of Payal. Payal, are you ready for this session? Perfect. So we are waiting for Payal to have the presentation.
Professor, did you said earlier about crowdfunding, right? It's like a fundraiser.
No. It's crowdfunding. No, it is not fundraising. Something completely different. Fundraising is gathering money for a specific project. Crowdfunding is some philosophical mind in a sociological base thinking about fundraising, but not for only for a specific. It is something like multi-level marketing, some pyramid, some referral. Have you found anything about it or not?
I Google it and it said crowdfunding is like a way for people and business to raise money.
Yes, but I
Oh.
want you to study with the details about it and think about it, because it is not the new approach to business, but it is again very refreshed approach to business after multi-level marketing, after referral marketing, after network marketing, after pyramid marketing. Again, after all of them, again, we are confronting with the crowdfunding, especially for developing countries, not for developed countries. So if I can find something, I will email for you. Okay, Payal, we are ready for your great presentation.
Okay, gonna start. Screen sharing first, right?
Yeah.
It says the host has disabled attending for screen sharing.
Can you do it now?
Let me check. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Can you all see my screen? So, hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the world's more pursued degree, which is Masters of Business Administration. So, from where it all started, we have first Dr. Adam Smith, who is considered to be the father of business because of his theories and his contribution that he did in business studies and economy. Then we have Dr. Peter Drucker, which is the man who invented management. He has written a lot of books, and he's considered to be the person who received like wisdom. He has wrote in his book about his thinking, his consulting, his teaching practices, writing, and his idea has become so mainstream for people who at that time who wanted to go into business. Then we have Henry Fayol, which is the father, he's also considered the father of business management, but that will be for the modern era. And he's the one who first addressed like the business studies in the management side, and he also introduced what is a famous theory called Fayolism. Then we have the history of MBA.
I have a question. Do you know Peter Drucker? Luisa, Phoebe, do you know Peter Drucker? Please go to the previous slide.
Yes.
The first slide. Do you know Peter Drucker?
Yeah, we talked about him, I think.
Yeah. And anything else? Books, sentences. Phoebe, do you know Peter Drucker? Start to know him. Start to know him. He is one of the best brain in the world, not only in the management. Best brain in the world as a thinker. Something more than everyone you know in the 20th century. More than everyone. Also, the timeline is not Peter Drucker between Adam Smith and Henry Fayol. The first is Adam Smith, the next one is Henry Fayol, and the third one is Peter Drucker. Adam Smith is the founder of capital, not capitalism, but the basic part of capital and thinking about the money and how to invest and some philosophy. These are the economic philosophers. And also Peter Drucker, you should know about him. Everything you find, every video, every article, every quote, everything you can find to know about Peter Drucker. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the others.
Sure. So talking about MBA, where it all started from, like the very first institution. Then we have in 1819, which was in Paris, they had the first business school. And then in 1881, the University of Pennsylvania, they established the first business degree. But that time it wasn't like the graduate level. There wasn't any master education at that time. So no of master in business. Then in 1900, the Dartmouth College, they had the first graduate business school, but they had Master of Science in Commerce program, which was like an advanced degree in business and a forerunner of MBA. Then we had the very first, Then we had the very first school of business, Master of Business program, which is in Harvard School, Harvard Business School administration, which included 15 members, faculty members. They had 32 regular students, which 8 had received the degree. And so this is considered very first business school. Then in 1916, we have the International ACCB, which is considered the International School of Collegiate School of Business. In 1943, we had the first executive of MBA from the University of Chicago. And later on, I will explain the difference between executive MBA and MBA. Then we have, I don't know why this is not moving. In 1988, the very first MBA ranking was published by the, which is accredited by the Council of Business Schools and Programs. Then in 1986, the very first MBA program that required the student to get a laptop, and that was in the Rollins School of Florida, Rollins College. And the beginning of 1992 to 1993, we have the Columbia Business School as well, requiring all the incoming students to have a laptop and an updated software to work on it. Then in 2013, they introduced Coursera, which nowadays is very famous, but at that time it was like really the beginning. They launched the very first online MBA program. So what is Masters of Business Administration, Aral? So it's an international accredited business degree for developing business and management and our future leaders of business entrepreneurs. So a typical master MBA degree covers a wide range of business field because actually it's a very broad. We have from accounting to finance to general management, IT management. It's a vast range of specializations. So why is it so important to have an MBA degree? Because it improves the leadership and management skills of people. It also develops to advertise and sell products and services that will be basically marketing. Then it creates network and connections for partnership. Then also, example, when we had the recession, we need MBA to to get out of it for such like financial crisis and public scandals. Then it's really important also the finance of the company to to keep it on track and healthy. Then it promotes the company's image, like a positive image of the company. It also is used to create reports or data for the industry. And the best will be to hire the top talents of business for the employee retentions, and it creates like hierarchies in the company tribe. So we will have the president, the vice president, the general management, and those. So the areas of specialization, we have the very first, the general management, which is basically the most popular in MBA because it talks about like developing effective business, whether it is abroad or nationally. Then it also is great for a versatile work environment, business environment. Then we have international business, which is gonna be like working abroad, working cross-border, and nowadays global business is increasing so much, so it's definitely an area to look for it. It's really helpful. Then we have the strategic management, which is basically preparing for a long-term business and a backup planning. Then we have the finance, which is great for bankers, financial controllers, chief officers, and this type of courses you will have more of finance, data analysis, data gathering and accounting, and that's more into the finance section. Then we have marketing, as I mentioned earlier, that is, it relies on promoting products and services at the same time, like making connections and all. Then we have entrepreneurship, which is great if you have an original business idea or you want to start up something fresh. Nowadays, we have heard a lot of entrepreneurs like easily, like you can have a YouTube channel or be an influencer on an Instagram stuff, and that's also like of your own, and it's very successful nowadays, more than before. Also, we have the operations management, which is ideal for the managers. That will be basically in the production section and learn how the production runs and how you can make the betterment of the company in the production wise. Then we have the IT management, which has been a recent boost. IT is very important no matter what specialization, no matter what area you are into. So it brings the technology and keeping up with the current technology for the business, which is really important for the organizations as well. It also relies on collecting the data and the product development in the IT management part. Then we have human resources, which is great for managers and people who want to work with a lot of employees, and is the one who's going to concentrate more in conflict resolution for the team development, or it's going to be the motivation for the people who are working there. Is also going to give the job responsibility of each employees working in there. And it's really important to keep employees happy and have a good work environment. So I'll say human resources will be for that. Then now we're going to talk about executive MBA. So executive MBA is very similar to the Master of Business Administration, but it's after you get the business masters. It's at like a very high level. It's when you already have 4 or 5 years of working experience. At that time, you're having the executive MBA. Also, it is designed, as I said, for corporate executive or senior managers who have already experience with business. And also, executive MBA can be done while you're already working. Most of the time, it's paid by the company because they want you to get, updated with what's the current, business trends and the ideology of it and all. So MBA students will be more of, they'll be more senior before, and they definitely require experience before entering the program. So let's talk about the difference between MBA and EMBA. So even for the entrance, while you want to pursue MBA, so for some university, they would require GMAT, TOEFL, SIT. For the executive MBA, you don't need anything as such because you already have a prior degree on that. Then also, one other difference will be that top school will always need more of executive MBA. So it's very, like, if you want to go for the best school, they would definitely take for executive MBA. Business administration will be a bit more harder to get into. Also, there is no age limit to pursue like MBA. At any age, you can go. Of course, after a bachelor degree, you can go for MBA. But after your bachelor, you cannot directly go to MBA. So for the MBA, minimum, the age gap who starts MBA will be around 36 years old, you can say. That's the starting point when you actually enter the EMBA program. Also, the MBA, compared to the MBA, the EMBA, they will have a faster class per section. Let's say if MBA finishes in 2 to 3 years, EMBA will be in 1.5 years, within 2 years. They are more faster paced program. Also, MBA, the finances in it would come further from the family member or from, you know, a school that they have some scholarships, stuff like that. But EMBA, it's more, the company will pay for it, so it doesn't comes out of your pocket. Also, what else? So yeah, as I guess I explained before that, like it's about experience, how much experience you have. So executive MBA will be the top notch for a business person to get into. So yeah, that will be basically all my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Any question, Phoebe, Luisa? Okay. At first, I have a question. You say that EMBA, Executive MBA, is about 6 months.
No, 1.5.
1.5, 18 months. It is master degree or not?
I mean,
EMBA is an academic course or not?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Okay. So with EMBA, you can go for DBA, for example.
But DBA also, they don't require that much of work experience.
Yeah. With MBA, when you are graduated now from MBA program, and after that, if you want, you can apply for DBA.
Right.
Can we do it again with EMBA or not? Do you know?
Yes, I guess.
Okay. And the second question is that we have a business administration, a bachelor degree in business administration. Before entering to MBA, there was an organizational leadership. Let me check some pictures with you.
I will stop the screen sharing.
Okay, thank you. Have you heard about this neuro leadership or not?
No.
And what about this one, leadership coaching?
That I've heard of. There are many, like, I would think that's like overlap. I mean, between business, and because we have these leadership programs, organizational leadership, and then we also have business administration. So they do have things similar, like in common. We need leadership. It's part of a business administration, because business administration is more general. Like there are so many layers afterwards, like where you want to go with.
Also, you have a course of leadership in bachelor degree. I don't know. I'm not certain that you have it also in master degree or not. But in bachelor, yes, you have the course of leadership.
Yeah.
And Sam, what do you think about the leadership coaching? What is it? What is it? What's the meaning of leadership coaching?
I guess it's like having business administration to get to an expertise, you know, like to coach them for how leadership will be like the main person in the team. So how you can, you know, effectively manage the whole entire organization. And I guess that will be for the leadership.
Let me ask my question in another way. Luisa is graduated as a top student because she is our top student now. As a top student from our program, and after 1 year again come back to us and said, I need a leadership coach. I said, you are our top student in the MBA. So how do you think about the necessity of having a leadership coach executive coach, business coach, especially in leadership coach, when we have a good degree of EMBA or MBA?
I feel
Phoebe and also Lisa, you can answer also. Okay, Ayo.
I feel like one thing is when you know something in theory, and the other thing is when you put it in practice.
Do you believe that MBA is about theory?
You need theory, but we put it in practice once you start working. So while working, depending on the work environment and all, then as the example you gave, then Luisa can come back and say, oh, I want this coaching, because now she's going to be interacting with, you know, with people. So she might need that. At first, she might have the knowledge, the basic of it, but you know, if she wants to like be an expert in that, then she want to come back for
Do you have any managerial experience or not?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
Luisa, do you have any managerial, mid-level, high level, no important, but about the management? Phoebe, what about you?
I just have a little bit of managerial and not in a big company though, just in a small restaurant.
Mm-hmm. So you are making yourself prepared for going to a managerial situation after gaining your degree in MBA. Is it correct or not?
Oh, is
Because
that
our course is about conflict management, my main question is that now we are talking about the 9 models of conflict management, and it is very simple to know the models. But Payal says to me that after graduation, at first I should go again to work and start practicing these theoretical concepts that I have learned during my MBA course in the field of action. Do you have any proposal for the university to make your course more practical?
I want to add something.
Yeah.
So basically being an international student, I would say if like universities can help us to get some work experience, at least let's say have an internship or have like 2 weeks if we can go to an actual working place, an organization, and let's see how things work and how's the work environment, that would be very helpful. Indeed. You know, so we can so we can know like how it is in real life in practice.
Perfect. Why not? Luisa, how do you think?
I would agree. The only problem I see is then with the work authorization. Like I had to wait for it for a long time. So it would have been like too bad if I couldn't start the MBA. If I like this, I could start the MBA and then wait for my work authorization. But if it was required to have everything right in the beginning, I think then I would have chosen like a different MBA.
So there is a matter here that you are international, okay. But for Native American, again, this is the same program. Consider that you were Native American. You had work authorization, okay? What was your proposal for adding to the MBA program? Can we offer some jobs to you? Can we offer a simulation of managerial position, for example, one day in the university to work as a manager?
I would say at least to be like a professor's assistants, like you know, help the professor and something like that in the university. I do know that I had a friend or like a classmate in a different IT course, like the university had actually hired him, and he was looking into our online Calmio, like you know, all into that. So I guess the university do have that kind of options, but I'm not sure if they have it for business. I do know they have something for IT concentration like MSCIS, but not sure about MBA. And one thing they could do is like if I will be a Native American, it's like towards the end of the whole journey, like the whole completion of them. If they can at least let us to, you know, have some sort of experience, that would be great.
Perfect. Phoebe, how do you think? What do you think about adding some options to our program in MBA for making more practical, and after graduation, it is not only about the theoretical concept and basis of MBA. You have some hours of practicing, not as a general worker, as a manager, as a leader, what you are educating for them. You are not educating for going and being a simple worker. For simple working, you don't need any payment for MBA or other degrees. How do you think we can improve our course?
Personally, I think about the courses, mostly the question or learning engagement is about the answer the question. But another idea is like, for example, you give us a real situation, like the situation that may happen every single day in a company or in a restaurant, and then ask us how to resolve that problem, not just answer all the question based on the book or based on the experience for the or PowerPoint from the course. It could be a little bit better, I think, to like solve the real problem, real scenario.
Because of that, I said so I will talk to the managers of the university. It's a good idea to add something, not virtual, but in a simulational situation, only in the university. For example, 1 day per week, you go and work with one of our managers in the university. 1 day with the financial manager, 1 day with the educational manager, 1 day with the general manager. And you should use your competencies learned from the course, from the program of MBA. You should use those learned concepts, learn the skills. It's a practical course. Perfect. Okay, let's go to the second model. It is loss aversion bias. Let me say what is it. Reciprocity, as we have seen, in a powerful heuristic for understanding human behavior in many situations, one that can help us diagnose why certain diagnoses or choices are made, as well as give us strategies for engaging people in reciprocal relationship. As described at the beginning of the previous chapter, which was about the law of reciprocity, both law of reciprocity and this model as virtual natural laws. Consider some of these strange but common behaviors. 1, taxes versus rewards. 2, free trials. And 3, stock market. What is going on? Why would rational people sell a stock going up in value sooner than sell one that's losing money? Why would many people stop using plastic bags when charged 5 cents, but not stop using bags when offered the exact same amount as reward? Good question. How do you think? Why would rational people sell a stock going up in value sooner than sell one that's losing money? Are we crazy? Why would many people stop using plastic bags when charged 5 cents, but not stop using that bag when offered the exact same amount as a reward? It is loss aversion bias. Loss aversion unconsciously guides a great deal of human behavior. It turns out that people have a powerful built-in bias, one that motivates us to avoid anything seen as a loss much more powerfully than seeking anything seen as a gain. The thought of losing, in other words, is far more abhorrent than the excitement of winning the same amount is appealing. And the vast majority act according even when it may not be in either best interest. Come to here. Essentially, loss aversion distorts the facts and information we are using to assess the situation as we try to make a decision. As in the following figure, a smart approach is logically assess and balance the gains against the losses a situation presents us and use the assessment as the basis for our choice. If the gains outweigh the losses for a particular option, even if only marginally, it would be rational to opt for that choice. How do you think about this model? How do you think about the loss aversion bias? What it says? Is it real? Is it real? It's a good question. Is it real? Who has the experience of stock market trading here? I know Payol has some. Okay, is it real?
Yeah.
It says that why would rational people sell a stock going up in value sooner than sell one that's losing money? Is it real? Why? As a
Yeah.
trader, professional trader, why people do this?
I think right now stock market is more like, so many people are going into cryptocurrencies. That's the thing right now, like that. And I feel like Elon Musk is playing game with everyone. In one conference, he's gonna say like, oh, this is very good. This is very good for my company. This and that, and the value of that stock will go so up, and even up that coin. And then the next conference is gonna say, oh, you know what, I was wrong. So I guess he's playing with people's mind. And stock market, I really feel is more of like a sentiment driven activities. And also it's basically, I feel like, I don't know how to put it. It's like gambling. It's like when you go for casino sometimes.
Casino?
Yeah.
The stock market or cryptocurrency?
Yeah, because some people like I know, they just do it for fun. An example, one of this day, one Uber driver, we were talking about stock market, and then he said like, oh, you know what, I'm doing Uber and I'm saving then so I can buy some new coins and this and that. I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, in February he bought this Dutch coin, which is like, now he bought it like for 4 cents, and he bought like plenty of it. And now it's basically, it has like $20,000 of, he gained $20,000 because he bought it at a very less price, and now that it has gone very high now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends for person.
Cryptocurrency as Forex are about the exchanging the same money. They are not about the goods. But for example, precious metal, or in Forex, the market of gold, not the Forex of exchange. You can trade gold, you can trade precious metal, you can trade the stock market. These are not about the exchanges. Also, I think cryptocurrency, because of that, I wanted Phoebe talk about crowdfunding, because when you know about the crowdfunding, you will understand the major principles of something like cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin. It is about crowdfunding. It is not about the market, because there is no market. What market are you working at? Nothing. We are working with the values which basically are virtual. Because of that, it is called cryptocurrency. But when you are going for trading some stock market, for example, for Apple, it is about the company. Do you believe that working and trading in the stock market, especially something like Tokyo stock market, New York stock market, the great major stock market, do you think, again, it is something like casino or not? Some stock markets, which are straight related to money, for example, Forex and cryptocurrency, that thinking how about the money is very important. The traders, how they think, for example, you said that Elon Musk said, yes, it is very good. After this time, we will buy our cars by cryptocurrency. 3 times or 4 times. And then next week said, no, I was wrong. I don't want to sell my, for example, Tesla by cryptocurrencies, going down, uptrend and downtrend. Luisa and Phoebe, how do you think about this law? Loss aversion bias. Do you think it is correct or not? And how do you think? What's your analysis about this concept? Is there any bias in our nature as human being for loss aversion? There is two concepts. I have never done trading on stock market, but sometimes I started to learn them, to teach them how to control and regulate their emotions. Because the worst scenario in a stock market is emotional trading. It's a game of fear and greed. You don't do any trade because of your fear, and sometimes you have over trading because of your greed. So they said it is the game of fear and greed. If you don't want to enter the game of fear and greed, you should know how to regulate your emotions. Because of that, for a period of time in my country, I worked with the stock market traders, not as a stock market trader, as a psychologist, for teaching them how to regulate their emotions. In that time, I had a chance to have knowledge about some concepts. Two concepts in trading is very important: stop loss point and take profit point. Take profit point is the point that you enter in your platform to stop your profit. It's enough. Thank you. Close the trade. And another stop point is a stop loss point. Okay, after this point, I don't want to have any loss, this is a stop loss. This principle says that we have a natural tendency to a stop loss. We have a natural bias to a stop loss. Do you think to loss aversion, do you think it is correct? How do you personally about this concept, Phoebe and Luisa? Do you find in yourself any bias for loss aversion more than gaining, more than stop gaining?
Yeah, I think so. It's like there are some things that we don't do because we are afraid of what we could lose, although we could even win, but we are thinking maybe it's not worth the risk, and then don't do it.
Phoebe, how do you think? Do you agree with the first sentence? Why would rational people sell a stock going up in value sooner than sell one that's losing money? Do you agree with this sentence or not?
Yeah, I agree. Even though I don't have any experience in stock.
And you haven't seen anybody trader about the psychology, because it is a psychology of trading. Remember that when you are talking about conflict resolution, you are deeply talking about psychology of negotiation, psychology of resolution, psychology of conflict resolution. You are talking about the back vocals of people. Because in four vocals, in what you can see only discussion or argument. It is not conflictual. Not discussion, not argument, not conflictual, very straight. When you cannot have any result from your discussion or from your argument, it is called conflict. For conflict resolution, you should find the back vocals, the vocals even the negotiator, even the parties cannot hear from themselves. Because of that, knowing the psychology of conflict resolution is very, very much important than knowing the techniques. Okay, after ending the graduation, their first job offered to Phoebe is coming to be a manager at, for example, the stock market, mid-level manager. Also, they will give you some training, a specific training. How do you feel about the psychology of the traders? The book says, why would rational people sell a stock going up in value sooner than sell one that's losing money? It's a fear of greed, or no? It's a fear of it's a game of fear, or it's a game of greed.
I think it depends on each person personality, like character. Because if the person is willing to lose, then they will not sell any losing, like sell the one that's losing money, but they will keep it and like maybe hoping it will go up. But then if a person is scared about losing money, then they will sell it like immediately, just right when it go down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it depends on the person.
Yeah. Soaring high like a beautiful eagle. It is something like soaring high like a beautiful eagle. What does it mean? Naturally, basically, not instinctually, but naturally, every human being wants to go up, and go up. Intentionally, it is called positive growth. Unintentionally, it is only growth, only change. Soaring high like a beautiful eagle. Because of that, when you are looking at the platform of stock market trading, many people look at the points that it is in the uptrend, not in the downtrend. Also, the philosophy is different. The uptrend you should buy, in downtrend you should sell. Yes, it's very simple. But the book is talking about the pre-assumptions as a natural law of reciprocity, and loss aversion bias as a natural law. Because of that, it is talking about the balance between losses and gains. Here you see loss amplification. Unfortunately, in most situations, we are unable to assess gains and losses rationally and precisely. As we see in the figure, the simple fact that losses carry more weight than gains distort the assessment by a factor of 2 or more, even when the potential gain and potential losses are equal. It is not about the reality. It is about your interpretation. And not a bad or good, but it's a bitter fact that our imagination, our emotions, our fears, our anxiety, our worrying always capture our rationality, capture our thinking, always. You can see it in emotional trading. You can see it in emotional eating. You can see it in pseudo false loves. You can see it. Everybody say to you that it is not your case. It's not a good case for you. Say, no, he or she is. Because of when your mind is imagining something, fantasize something, your fantasy, your imagination capture the reality, not the reality, the rationality, your wisdom. And decision making, also, you should know about the protocols, about the application programs that you can use for your good decision making. But at first, you should know about the data collection. Your bias go to data collection. You delete most of the data which are not so good, so in the same page of your emotions. So in a correct manner of processing, you enter the distorted data, the deleted data, wrong data, right process, wrong answer, wrong result. Even you do a wrong process on wrong data, you will have some wrong results. It's one picture, and the other one is other parties speaking of various solutions from win or loss perspective. When diagnosis the impact loss aversion is having in a situation, listen and watch for how each party, yourself included, is coding or assessing wins and losses. It's very important to know about the procedure involved in data collection and giving weight to the data, which is more important, about the ranking, about the sense of importance, about the significance of all the data. Are the parties speaking of various solutions from a win or loss perspective? What issues or concerns are you most emotionally tied to? The most important things as a real manager, something more than your knowledge, something more than your marketing knowledge, something more than your business knowledge or skills, self-regulation and self-control is the basic most important skill you should have as a manager, as a leader. A chaotic mind cannot manage anything. A chaotic emotion cannot manage anything. So because of that, every type of management begins with self-management. Again, again, again. But the party is unable to accept the solution because it requires a sacrifice, even a relatively minor one. Are they struggling to let a particular issue go? These are the basic questions you should know about the using of, for example, a model so-called loss aversion bias in yourself. You should track your bias in all aspects of your life. You should track your pre-assumptions in all aspects of all sides of your life. If you have pre-assumptions in that area, that you have some pre-assumptions, you may be not too wise to have a good, proper decision, to make a good, proper decision. If you have pre-assumptions can destroy your wisdom in any aspect of life. Now we are talking about the conflict management and conflict resolution. Mind reading destroy everything. I don't want to have any loss. It is not related to you. It is related to market. If you have a bias to loss aversion, okay, you are only concentrating on gains. It is not concentration. It is overvalue. Overvalue is something like undervalue. Any question? Okay, I hope to see you next week. But if I could not see you next week, I will have the week 7. Also, I will upload the video in the Moodle in the same time before Wednesday. And in week 7, we are passionately waiting for Phoebe to talk about crowdfunding. Also, I can see a little fear and anxiety in the face of Phoebe that she says me, I cannot find anything authoritative, but it is not important. You can find it. Please don't postpone this project. This project is not the last minute project. The last minute project is always a low quality. At least it is lower quality. Thank you. So let's go to your quiz, and I am here until 8.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Professor. Have a good night. Bye,
Goodbye,
Royal.
everybody. Have a good night. Bye.